Previously, you've learned that the position of the note on the staff determines how high or low a note is to be played or sung. Today we're going to talk about how the shape of the note determines how long to play or sing a note. The first type of note we're going to talk about is the whole note. It is kind of an oval like that. This oval is called a note head, and since it's not filled in at all, it is an empty note head. That is our whole note. Computers and digital software will show the whole note looking like this. The next type of note we're going to talk about is the half note. It's depicted as an empty note head with a stem. The stem can either go up on the right side or down on the left side of the note. When looking at half notes on the staff, the third line will determine which way the stem is going to go. Below the third line, the stem is going to go up. On the third line or above, the stem is going to go down. Here is a computer version of a half note with a stem going up and one of the stem going down. We're going to start building a note tree that's going to help us see how the note durations are related to each other. So at the top, we're going to have a whole note. And in that whole note, you can have two half notes. For a way to practice remembering how these notes relate to each other, let's do some basic math problems using these notes. So if I had a half note plus something, it would equal a whole note. So I know that the half note is half as long as a whole note, and I'm trying to get to a whole note. That means this blank here would need to be another half note. Or perhaps I could go, if I had a whole note minus a half note, it would equal what? Again, a whole note minus half equals a half. The next type of note we're going to work with is the quarter note. It is half as long as a half note. That means that there are 4 quarter notes in one whole note. Quarter notes are depicted with a filled-in note head with a stem going up, or a filled-in note head with a stem going down on the left. Here's a digital version of a quarter note with a stem going up and with one going down. Adding to our note tree, each of the half notes can be split into 2 quarter notes. Meaning if we go all the way up, we can see that there are 4 quarter notes in one whole note. Let's do another couple rhythm math exercises to help reinforce what we've learned so far. If we've got a quarter note plus something, it will equal a half note. We know that there are 2 quarter notes in a half note, so if we've got 1 quarter note, we need another quarter note to solve this equation. Let's do a longer one. Let's go quarter note plus quarter note plus something equals a whole note. So we know that there are 2 quarter notes in a half note. So these 2 right here are probably working like a half note. And there are 2 half notes in a whole note. So our missing note there is a half note. Our next note is the eighth note. They are half as long as quarter notes. This means that there are 4 eighth notes in a half note and 8 eighth notes in a whole note. Eighth notes are depicted as a filled-in note head with a stem going up and a flag going to the right. If the stem goes down on an eighth note, the flag still goes to the right. Additionally, if there are 2 eighth notes in a row, we can pair them together with a filled-in note head, a beam, and then the other filled-in note head. So these 2 examples, they both get the same amount of value, with just a different way to make it look on the page. If the note heads were to go down, if the stems were to go down, that's how we would beam 2 eighth notes together if we wanted to. And here's a digital eighth note with a stem going up. Notice that flag going to the right, and one with a stem going down. Again, the flag going to the right. Back over on our rhythm tree here, we can split each quarter note into eighth notes. I like to show individual eighth notes on one half of our rhythm tree, and then remind that we can beam them together as well. But these 4 eighth notes over here would sound exactly the same as these 4. They just look a little different on the page. And here we can see we've got 2 eighth notes equaling 1 quarter note, 4 eighth notes equaling a half note, and all 8 of these eighth notes equaling the one whole note. Let's do a couple more rhythm math examples. Let's take eighth note plus blank equals quarter note. Well, we know that there are 2 eighth notes and a quarter note, so if we've got one eighth note, we need to fill in with another eighth note. Let's try a trickier example. Let's take a pair of eighth notes plus an eighth note plus a blank plus a half note to equal a whole note. So this pair of eighth notes equals one quarter note. This eighth note's by itself. And we've got a half note, which equals 4 eighth notes. So if I was counting eighth notes, I've got 4 from the half note, 2 from this pair, that's 6 total, a 7th right here, and there are 8 eighth notes in a whole note. So I'm missing an eighth note. Let's do a quick review. We've got a whole note, which is an empty note head. Whole. We can split that into 2 half notes. Half. We can split those into 2 quarter notes each. Quarter. And we can split each of those quarters into 2 eighth notes. Thanks for watching.